sauce is what we said earlier. It's our experience. It's the judgment. It's the critical thinking. It's the pattern recognition. Menopause is a part of life. Let's talk about it. Let's scream about it. Let's understand it. Let's not put it on a shelf and think it's just going to go away. Let's do something about it. The second half of my life will be now, happening now. I'm in the second half.
Welcome to the Hot Flash Health Podcast, where we're dishing out unfiltered truths about menopause with a side of sass and a sprinkle of grass.
Get ready to dive into the wild world of hot flashes, mood swings, and all of the other joys of being a queenager.
This ain't your grandma's podcast. No, we are here to talk our bodies, our fears, our passions, our desires, all while navigating this wild roller coaster ride of menopause.
So grab a glass of wine,
or three.
Kick back, relax, and let's enjoy this hot flash wave together.
I'm Courtney Mamusha, and alongside me is my fabulous co-host, Dawn Fable.
We're just two outspoken broads who like to call it how it is.
Now, without further ado, let's kick off today's episode.
Welcome back, you amazing queenagers, to the Hot Flash Health Podcast, where we sweat, we swear, and we sass our way through menopause, reinvention, and all of the hormonal shit that midlife is throwing at us. Today's guest is a walking, talking mic drop when it comes to redefining aging and smashing stereotypes and proving that 40 plus is just the beginning. She's bold, she's beautiful, and she is building a movement that says we're not getting old, we are getting started. Go girl! We are joined by the incredible Barbara Brooks, founder of Second Act Women.
Hello! Thank you for having me.
Thank
you, Dawn.
Well, Barbara, we definitely love a reinvention queen around here, and you are definitely the blueprint. Tell us how Second Act Women was born and what problem you set out to solve for all of us.
Ageism is the answer to both of that. I started the company because I myself believed that I couldn't find a job back in corporate America at only the age of 51 in 2018. And so I decided to start a company, really take an idea off the shelf of creating an event company for women. It wasn't really about women of a certain age until I did my research after starting Second Act Women and changing the name and creating this community for women over 40. Also, ageism is what I'm trying to really find the solution for. And so I discovered over the course of all these years now, really in the first couple of years, that ageism was really a problem. And if it comes down to it, $50 billion was lost to the U.S. economy in 2018. By happenstance, happens to be the same year I started. But to ageism and age bias in the workplace. And so because of that, and also because of what I hear from the women inside of the community, there is a crisis happening today in America and really globally with women and our allies not being able to find a job. And so here I am trying to do what I can to advocate and support women in their 40s, 50s, 60 plus.
I have a question about that because and sorry, Dawn, I know you have a question too, but we obviously are launching this great company and building this community, but we've come from the corporate world, and over the last year, I was sort of like, I want to get a new job, and what does that look like? And it has been hard as fuck to get a new job, and I think what's going on in the world is hard in general, but it is like a question to us women in our 40s and going into 50s. Do we put all of our historical data on a resume? Do we not? Do we show how old we are? Do we not? It's like so confusing to be like, I don't want to be looked at as a 20-year-old because I'm a senior executive, but I don't want to be like, oh, she's 50. We don't want to bring her in. So how do you approach that?
Yes. And that's the shame of it, is that we have built this amazing collection and bank of experience over the last 20, 30, 40 plus years, and we can't brag about it. And so that's the dichotomy that I sit at as a pro-age activist and speaker is that here I am telling you to own everything. Really, seriously, own all this experience. But then I have to turn around and tell you, but don't own it on your CV. That fucking sucks. Let's be honest. That sucks that we can't brag about that. We've got to wait until we get the job until we can brag about and really show our even more of our value, because we're valuable in the first place. But it's really a shame that we can't. We really should only go back about 10 years. But here's the thing. In Colorado, California, New York, and there's a couple of other states. I don't know who was first to start this, but there is a bill that started that was approved and went through the Senate, the Congress, all the things. Aren't really into politics, especially not right now. But I will say there is a bill that says that it is illegal to put your dates that you graduated from high school, that you graduated from college, that the dates of maybe where you were somewhere. But for sure, it is not legal for a company to ask you when you graduated, because what that is doing is that's holding us back. Obviously, that rule or that policy is put in place to close the gap, much like having in our state and several others having to put the amount that this job, the range of how much this job pays, that's to close the pay equity. That's to close the gap. Well, that's what our governor and other folks here on both sides of the aisle in Colorado has said that we need to do to prevent the age bias that's happening. Because again, I said it's a crisis, and 1 in 3 people today in America are over 50. And in just 5 years, in 2030, 1 in 5 people will be over 65.
Oh my goodness.
That's right. There's more of us than 18-year-olds, than centennials.
Hallelujah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's a shame, but we have to play that game. It really is the she economy. We've all heard that term before, but really women, especially women entrepreneurs, let's face it, over 40 are driving the economy. There's no doubt that we're driving the economy, and that's globally, or we're in the trillions. Matter of fact, women in particular over 50 drive a $15 trillion buying authority, and we're the ones, yet we're not marketed to. Yet we're heard that we're too old to dress in short skirts. Hello, which is what I have
Hey,
on today.
girl.
We're too old to do all the things, but in actuality, Gen X, booming Gen X millennials, hello, we should be able to do whatever we want, just like we did before. Yeah, isn't that something? Interesting you should say the saying no part, and how we all have heard the term that saying no is a sentence. It's a full sentence because it's no, period. I myself, just over the last couple of years, and I'm 58, soon to be 59 in October, I just learned how to say no and honor. Oh my God, I'm going to sound like a woo person. I'm not woo, although Strength Finder says I am. But I will say, that saying no really is a powerful thing, and understanding your boundaries is really a powerful thing. And yes, that's who we are today, is we know not only our value and all the things, but stop shutting us down and letting us say yes when we're ready to say yes. But again, it is, as you said, it's okay for us to say, you know what, no. But give us a damn chance. Because when I started the company in 2018, again, age had nothing to do with it. Nothing for the first 6 months. It was all about elevating women and providing some really cool business and social events for women. And it wasn't until I think my aha moment when we came up with the name of the company, and when I discovered, oh my gosh, I know what we should be about. That aha moment came on a Monday. On a Monday in December. Mind you, I had volunteers, and I had my former business partner come back. It consciously uncoupled. Lupe and I had, after owning a public relations and marketing company prior to Second Act Women, she had came back and said yes to being a co-founder. Interesting enough, we had napkined out months before, in the middle of us creating this company, this thing, which is going to be called Green Light. We were creating this conference, the first conference of its kind for women. And so we had napkined it. If you take a step back from December, had napkined out different names. And by then, we had already started thinking maybe this was about women over a certain age. And then on a Monday in December, I had my aha moment and didn't even recognize the Second Act Women was on that napkin until I gotta find the napkin anyway, I didn't realize that Second Act Women was on that napkin until after I had that aha moment, said, oh my God, I know what it's about. It's about women in their second act. I'm going to call it Second Act Women. And it was that moment because we had been doing all of this research. I'm a marketer by trade. And Dawn, you and I come from radio sales, which I dipped into for 8 years. Prior to that, I was a shopping center marketing director for most of my adult life. And so marketing and research and all that was very important to me, much like it was when we were in that industry we were in together. But wow, that was it. And then it was like an even bigger light bulb came on above my head and said, I found it. I know what the company is going to be, what the bleep company is going to be all about. And it's reframing age. It's helping us understand our worth. It's, doing all the things. And mind you, I was still feeling my own internal biases myself. I was one of those people who would laugh at a joke about boomers or even Gen Xers or even all the things that that it was okay to laugh about from stages and all of the things, but no longer do I do that because that feeds into the age bias. I'm not saying comedians shouldn't do it because I'm not one of those. You do you. And I probably will still because I still fight with my own internal age bias. So I probably will still have a chuckle, but I don't like it when when people are honest about I don't know, the perceived negativities of this age. Perceived is the operative word. So in answer to your question, my aha moment was after listening to the volunteers, after seeing something, I can't remember what it was on TV, and then sitting on my couch having that moment that this is it. Our company is going to fight and advocate and support women over 40.
Love that. I keep on wanting to say hoorah because you said green light, and that reminds me of Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. And love that book. I love that name too, but I do love,
That's right. They also had a green light project that was like some kind of a unscripted competition show or something for business owners. Anyway, to green light their project or something. Yeah.
But I love Second Act Women. Something.
Yes.
You say on your website, which I love, is that age isn't a limitation, right? It's our secret sauce. So what do you really mean by that? And how can we as women start embracing our age as an asset and not a setback?
The secret sauce is what we said earlier. It's our experience. It's the judgment. It's the critical thinking. It's the pattern recognition. It's all the things that frankly complements AI. Is not replaced by AI, but instead complements AI. So for me, and the bank of connections, it's the creativity. Dawn mentioned it. The creativity, the innovation that we still have because of where we have been, that makes us even more powerful today because of all those, and frankly, all the fuck ups that we've had on the job, in our careers, in life, all the things that we have been through, good, bad, and ugly. That is the secret sauce to humans over 40. That's the secret sauce. It's really about this time in life being middlescence, much like it was when we were in puberty and it was called the pubescent stage. We're in the middlescent stage. And it's funny because actually I just renamed my podcast and YouTube channel The House of Middlescence.
I love that.
Because that's really it. It's Second Act Women. And what we're doing is sort of your headquarters for owning this time in life, for owning, understanding, and reframing what it is to be a fucking badass at 40, 50, 60 plus.
I feel like Donna is coining the term. Well, it's not coining, but saying cougar puberty. So you should be like cougarty. I can't even say it. We're trying to say puberty.
Cougar puberty. It's so good, right? Because we should.
Wait, cougar? No.
No.
No, girl, no. No, as a publicist and a PR and a marketing girl, cougar has a bad connotation. It has the connotation that we women aren't allowed to date younger than but men are. But when we do, we're called cougars. No.
thought
That's
about it.
just me.
I've never.
That's me. Y'all can own what you want. That's the beauty of this time.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Okay, but I feel like if we embrace, being that cougar, being that feral sort of, woman who is out there to just get whatever the hell she wants, I feel like we can flip the script on that. But I see where you're going.
Yeah, but don't call me a cougar just because I'm dating someone younger. Just like don't call my tattoo on my lower back a tramp stamp because I'm not a tramp.
Totally.
True.
Totally.
So, but that's me. Don't call me a cougar. But if you want to be called a cougar or anybody else, you know what? I'm going to support you because that is the power of this time.
Yeah.
Because we all have differences of opinions. But yeah, that's the beauty of this time is if you want to own that, and the Queenagers obviously love that term, we can all have these differences of opinion and embrace the differences and not go against each other, which of course is what's happening in the world. You do you, I do me. That's the beauty of this time.
I feel like though as women, we've evolved quite a bit in the last 10 years. And women now, instead of being bitches, to one another and suppressing any sort of success or not being happy for one another, we've really sort of banded together and empowered one another. And I think that's what's so special that you're doing in your community, we're doing in our community, and community is so important and so important to be loud. And that's something that you've really done. You have promoted this aging out loud. How can we as women do the same as what you've done? Because it's been so powerful and you've impacted so many people.
That you asked that question because I like to say we all remember that analogy of crabs in a barrel. And I like to remind that my community, and a lot of, as you just said, Dawn, a lot of women, female communities are not going against each other. Now, I didn't experience that, but a few times in my corporate life, but I know that is a thing. That back in the day, us Gen Xers and Boomers, these two generations in particular, that was the thing in corporate America. But I feel like we've I don't know if it's because we're banding together because we all recognize we're in this together, regardless of ethnicity, regardless of race, regardless of sex, who you love, whether you want to be a cougar or not. I think there's just this thing that we just finally we want to be as one. Much like I preach about us being intergenerational and owning the power of all the generations, I just think no longer are we pulling each other down in that bucket of crabs. We're instead lifting each other up, kind of giving each other that boost and wanting to collaborate, wanting to connect with one another. I'm even discovering in my community, they almost prefer, because you can find learning anywhere, they love the conferences, they love the big things, and they love the socials where they can connect and do networking in a different way over doing development workshops and things. Now, we'll continue to do those from time to time, especially post-COVID. And even though it's been 5 years, we're just yearning for collaboration and connection.
Absolutely.
And so the way that you do it and the way that I have is being real and honest, and that woo word, the coach word that everybody uses, authenticity, and being you and owning that. And as we empower and inspire one another, and the more we support one another, I think that's what's driving a community like mine and Hot Flash Health's community that you're developing. I just think we just recognize we're all in this together.
Yeah. And I love what you're doing. I had the opportunity to meet you in person at your Second Act Women's event, which we loved being a part of, and met so many fantastic women and have connected with them. Have you noticed any other changes or transformations of your members? I mean, has it kind of opened up this feeling of belonging and, not being put down like we've been talked about, which I was definitely one of those women in corporate America who bitches put me down and took my ideas. And because of that, I've learned never to do that. And I would rather say my team did that instead of me doing that. I would take no ownership. So that resonated with me. But, how are your members like feeling being a part of this group, and how are they growing?
So this is the part that gives me the tears.
Oh, I knew I was going to make you cry.
Thanks, Barbara Walters. This is the part that makes it all worthwhile, because as we all know, being a coming from corporate, making great money, doing all the things, being able to afford the things we want to do and all that, but then launching companies and having to take a step back to move forward in our careers to be able to make those kinds of earnings again. It's been rewarding for me having had to take that step back financially to move forward, to hear from women how important the second act women community has been to them. The collaborations that has truly come from this, the feeling seen, feeling heard in a judgment-free community online where we don't allow one iota of trolling. The more women that are owning and their age, honestly, and saying their age now at events proudly, when in the beginning we were wanting you to say your age when you'd come online, or we'd do Zoom meetings, or we would do conferences, put your age on your name tag. In the beginning, that was a tough call to have people do that. It was even tough getting people to our first freaking event that was focused on this age group, because what? You want me to go to an event that admits I'm of a certain age? So now to hear from women over the course of all these years how important the second act women community has been for them has made it worth the while, and the sacrifice that I have gone through and I've had in building this community and having these women are part of it. It's made it, when I've wanted to give up, I have a pineapple jar filled with things that people have said about their feelings and how important the community is. And even some of the things that people have said about me and what I've helped them do. It keeps me going, and it will keep the fight going, even when the judgment of family and friends, not my mom, because my mom supports me regardless. But there are others, that have made side comments like, why are you doing this? All the things that we entrepreneurs get from people that don't understand a mission-driven, vision-driven, social impact company that is looking to change the world alongside my other cohorts and my other colleagues that are out there, the Janine Vandenbergs, the Ashton Appletons, the Jacinth Bissett in the UK. It's made it worthwhile.
You've been such a force of nature, and there's nothing more powerful than seeing a woman like you set out to do it and lead by example, right? There's many women, I'm sure it's much like menopause. During this age, there's such an emotional side of aging where you're lacking confidence, you're lacking identity, you're lacking relevance, especially for those of us who are mothers and seeing our kids sort of fly away from us, right? We're seeking that purpose. And it can all feel so shaky. And seeing someone like you who is doing it and doing it live and being such a mentor for others is just very, very, very powerful. Aging in the workplace is a lot like menopause in the workplace. Everyone is experiencing it, right? Unfortunately, as women, we can't avoid menopause. We can't avoid aging. Yet there's so many employers that are not being proactive to support what we physically, emotionally are going through as aging and as menopause sort of invites itself into our life. How do you see companies, and how do you see women, and how do you just see us as a general society being better at evolving to support aging and supporting symptomatic things that are happening to us as women as we age, including menopause?
So I'm a speaker in the power of intergenerational teams. That is my side way of eradicating ageism and saying we all bring value to the workplace, because we really do. I mean, that's no bullshit. We really do. Research says it. People that have harnessed the power, people that have harnessed and the power of working together have seen a difference when they all appreciate one another. So how I see it, I say we have to stop making the jokes inside of corporations. If someone wants to take notes the old school way, if that's what you want to call it, and literally pull out their notebook and their paper, and it just so happens they're a Gen Xer or a boomer, and because of that they're seen as not hip enough or not understanding tech, I call BS. If we then also turn around and see a Gen Z or an early millennial person on their devices in meetings, and we think that they are texting others or not paying attention, I call BS. That's a stereotype because they probably are 99% of the time. That's how they're taking notes. But guess what? Same. When it comes to Gen Xers, boomers, and millennials, we too are loving text. Don't say that we don't understand or don't appreciate or don't understand tech, because in that same meeting, there could be someone of a certain age who's also taking notes that way and taking, that's how they like to do business. I say, and that's just one example, I say we have to break down and stop with the stereotypes. We have to understand that all of us have different ways of doing business, have different ways of working, our work styles. Communication could be different. Someone might like to be communicated through text only and email only or Slack only versus picking up a phone call, and they just happen to be in a certain generation. Stop saying, "Oh, Gen Z, can they just pick up the phone?" No, we've got to learn to work within how we all like to communicate. So if Slack isn't your jam, guess what? You're going to have to learn it. If you're a Gen Zer and your Gen Xer or your millennial or your boomer likes a quick phone call, guess what? Gen Z, pick up the phone. If that is their communication style. So we have to stop coming down on each other because of the way our work styles are and the way that we've been trained, but also we have to also want to learn more. We still need to, and I do find this in a lot of our community members, is we have this undying need and want to continue learning. And I think that's why YouTube is seeing such a growth in women and humans over 50. I think that's why TikTok is seeing such growth in content creators that are over 50. And I'm using 50 for this particular circumstance for a reason. So I think it all just comes down to we need to understand each other. We need to stop making jokes. We need to instead embrace one another's styles of work, of dress, of whatever it may be. Don't make jokes. Stop the backhanded jokes and understand that we are all different humans. We're all individuals. Instead, we should look at each other as one big generation. I mean, AI, let's just break this down when it comes to tech, by the way. We are tech natives in a sense. I remember in sixth grade playing on my Game Boy in the sixth grade in the 70s, playing a handheld game and getting in trouble for bringing it to school. Football, and I'm a girl. So, and then you've got traditionalists who are before the boomers who sort of invented some of the tech that was the base, the foundation of the companies that were built off of that foundation. So then the boomers came along and built Microsoft, created Atari, created all of the things that then led to the next generation. So led to email being created in the 90s. And then that led to all of us leading to AI being built because of all the things that we all sort of had a hand in when it comes to the generations. Gen Z didn't create technology, and neither did millennials. So for them or anybody to say that we are defunct in understanding or wanting to know or being involved in technology, and I use tech as an example because it's a part of everyday life. I'm a super user of AI, by the way. Mine is called Chloe. And so I like to use that as an example that when it comes to the workplace and our lives as a whole, let's stop breaking down and saying, oh, because you're this generation, you don't know or you don't understand or you don't want to know and understand. It's not the case. It's all individual.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that because I feel very strongly about that too. I'm wondering, as you're talking about this, and I'm thinking about multi-generational, but I'm also thinking multicultural. And I'm curious if you've seen, in other countries, if they're more accepting of ages and different cultures and everything like that, where America seems to be like, oh, we want the younger, we want the, Ivy Leaguers, and we want this in our new companies. But have you noticed anything in EMEA or APAC or anything where they're a little bit more like accepting of aging women and all of us aging?
Yes, I would say Asia. They honor their elders in all of Asia, so China, Japan, all the places. But also in India, in the workplace, they really are embracing all the ageism is not as big of a deal. Now, it's sad that in most of the other countries, what I'm understanding and what, and through my research and what I know is there's a reason why the US, Australia, and UK are some of the strongest companies in trying to create and understand that the world is growing older. So we also have to build systems because the longevity economy is here to stay. It's booming. By the way, it's $1 billion industry because of those stats that I gave you earlier with 1 in 5 people going to be 65 in America. It's the same in the UK and Australia. So it seems as though, and I haven't really studied the other, all the other countries.
Mm-hmm.
I myself, as in the Second Act Women and my personal brand, Barbara Brooks Speaks, I'm in constant conversations with the UK, with people in the UK and people in Australia, more so the UK, by the way, and a lot of us in the US. So you have Colorado, by the way, when it comes to the states in the US, you have Colorado, you have California, you have New York, you have states. I will say this, you can cut this part out if you want. There are a lot of blue states that are understanding that they understand that the longevity economy is something they need to tap into. They understand that we need help and assistance in caregiving. They understand that their populations, that the population is not growing. As I said, it's getting older. And we're living longer today. So they need to put systems, platforms, programs, living assistance, all those things in place, because if they don't, what will happen?
Well,
where will we go if we don't have any support?
I read something the other day that just with menopause alone and the symptoms that are coming along with it, right? And aging, menopause, whatever. I think it was the Mayo Clinic that estimated that we lose as an economy 1.8 billion in loss of productivity for that. So our country really needs to do something to find out how to support those people who are going through physical symptoms that are impacting productivity in the workplace. Then you have, and don't even get me started on this, but with insurance and things, a lot of these solutions are not covered by insurance. So what is the workplace and what are we as a country doing to accommodate the out-of-pocket expenses that women are utilizing to treat these symptoms that decrease productivity in the workplace? Like we have to figure something out.
Let's create hot flash rooms. Let's create spaces where we, instead of going to our car to have that moment in time, or because, as you all know, it was stated over 30, but now my friend Kimberly has said, who's a nurse practitioner, has said there's over 80 symptoms to menopause. So the workplaces also need to adjust, as you're saying, to making sure that we feel comfortable even going through these dang symptoms that we experience in the workplace. I can't imagine when I was going through my symptoms in my mid to early mid 50s, that is. I went through them for a while. I can't even imagine having been in corporate America, going through that feeling of hot flat, that feeling of sweat that just comes over you, and then the losing of your makeup for the moment and all the things, and just also the moodiness, and all the things, you guys are in it. And so there has to be, and thankfully, going back to what countries are also recognizing, that menopause is a part of life. Let's talk about it. Let's scream about it. Let's, all the things, let's understand it. Let's not put it on a shelf and think it's just going to go away. Let's do something about it. And so I think that's why you have the Stacey Londons who created the state of menopause. I think that's why you have Halle Berry, who, by the way, made the cover and made the list of the Forbes 50 over 50 list. I think that's why you have so many people, and it's sad, even though I love me some Halle Berry, it's sad that it took celebrities and people with notoriety to start bringing that forward and saying, you know what, this is a problem. But I'm happy that they're doing it, that celebrities and the like are saying, you got to listen to women. You have to. give us what we need when it comes to recognizing. And by the way, give us more than the 10 hours doctors are learning about menopause in medical school. The heck? Universities, you got to do better. And if you're an OBGYN, you need to do better and stop feeding us bull when we're coming in with symptoms and saying, oh, take a pill, it'll be over with, or not doing anything about it.
Well, and that's what's crazy. You look at the medical system, which is totally broken, and we could go on for a long time about this. You know, when a man's penis is falling down, right? Insurance will cover the little blue pill to help him, you know, that impacts his life, impacts his psychological, emotional productivity, functioning, confidence, all of the things which spill over into the workplace, right? But God forbid we as women have issues with our libido or physical symptoms of what's happening as a result of menopause, and insurance won't cover it. We have to pay out of our pockets. What are we doing as a society? What are we doing with larger corporations to start to set aside money, to start to set aside resources to help with that as well? So
Yep.
There's probably a whole nother podcast on that, but you know,
we don't have answers.
yeah. Speaking of menopause, I know that you've spoken very openly about something that you've gone through and you have conquered and you have embraced and you are on the other side of. What can you share with our listeners who are going through it, who are in the midst of it right now, to try to get through this challenging roller coaster of, you know, this hormonal clusterfuck, as Kimberly Cunningham referred to it yesterday? It's hormone whack-a-mole, right? I thought that was brilliant. I was like, this is great.
Yeah, so true. Oh my goodness, it is whack-a-mole, isn't it? And I wonder how many symptoms, you know, it'd be great is if there was a checklist so that when you have that one day of menopause, because as you all know, there's just one day in menopause and then you're postmenopausal. It'd be great if we had this checklist to see all the symptoms, just to check off what am I feeling today? Or what did I, because I'm just wondering how many symptoms of the 80 plus did I go through? And how many of those symptoms were not a part of my ADHD or not a part of my ADHD disability? But that, by the way, I was finally diagnosed only 2 years ago. That's a whole nother subject when it comes to women and being diagnosed with all these other things. I'd love to know what was a part of that I experienced, because I have to say, maybe start taking notes, maybe start journaling about them, but also know this too shall pass, as they always say. Because listen, go to the doctor, go to a doctor that understands, go to a nurse practitioner that's studying your body, by the way, and better understand your symptoms, get a better hold of what you're feeling. And don't just think, well, actually, when I just said this too shall pass, I meant that as you will go get over the hump. But don't do the whole this too shall pass in that moment that you're feeling something. Go to a doctor. See an expert. See an expert, not your OBGYN. If your doctor doesn't really understand menopause, I believe in pills. So if there's, you know, estrogen helps me, literally Estroven, over the counter helped me with my hot flashes. Do something about it. Don't just think, just wait, I'll wait it out. Don't be that woo where you're not into taking some kind of medication or probiotic or whatever it's going to take to get through it. I know you guys have something. Don't do something about it. Don't be a male. You know how men don't like to go to the doctor. Take care of yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's the only thing I can say, because I didn't even recognize. And I think, you know what I would say too is don't I think when I was starting to get the hot flashes, I didn't put two and two together, and then that it was menopause, obviously, because I was just in my own world. And then I almost didn't want to admit it, but then I owned it. I'm like, oh, this is menopause. I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to go see a doctor about it because it's here to stay, or it's postmenopause, as I learned, obviously. So, you know what? It's a part of life. Own it. It's part of who you are. 100% of women will have menopause. So there are 100% of women who will understand what you're going through.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing with us is we're trying to help real women get real answers, right? So whether it's taking a at-home hormone kit, which we've launched and
Yeah.
want everybody to take, to get those initial answers that they need to then find somebody who can help them.
Absolutely.
Well, Barbara, you are such a force. I know you're a media mogul. You have launched Second Act Women. You're doing workshops. You're connecting women. Can you talk a little bit about how we can find you and how we can feel a part of your energy a little bit more and be in your
Yeah, yes. And by the way, I do have to say thank you to you too for taking part in BizLifeCon, our annual conference for women over 40. It was such a pleasure to have you two there. I know the ladies really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping you got really great content as well to
We'll be
further
back.
amplify our voices. Good. So they can find us at secondactwomen.com. It's spelled out, not the letter 2 or the number 2. Secondactwomen.com is where they can find all the events and activities. We talk about it all. You can also, when you go to secondactwomen.com, you can also find the link to get inside of our Facebook community where we even talked about downstairs. There was a post last week about dryness downstairs. So we talk about it and people gave their advice and I've gotten it too, the dryness downstairs. So we talk about it on a judgment-free environment that is just for us. And again, we will kick people out if the trolling, and I can't even tell you last time we've had somebody go down the road of being negative Nancy's, because we don't know. You can give your opinion. You just can't say, why are you you've got to be nice about it. So anyway, so there's that. I'd go to secondactwomen.com because we've got a money conference coming up at Mercedes-Benz of Denver here in this October at the dealership to talk about money, because we don't talk about money enough, and owning our future and what does that look like. And we've got, signature events that happens live here in Denver, Colorado, but then some of those events we also do stream as well. So you can catch that. And then you can catch my House of Midolescence on YouTube and the podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. I just give bites. There are just, times where from time to time I get together with girlfriends or people in the community, talk about real things happening in our careers or entrepreneurship in life in the house of, where you are welcome home inside of the House of Midolescence, and then LinkedIn, of course. The second half of my life will be now. It's always happening now. I'm in the second half. It is, I feel like I'm on my way to the end zone for that touchdown. And that is, I guess, ageism is eradicated. So so there you have it. Great questions.
Well, thank you for playing with us. That was a fun little rapid fire. We haven't done that yet, so that was awesome to do. Obviously, it's been a pleasure having you on. We love, like I said, having you in our orbit. Want to be around you more and more. We will definitely join Second Act Women, be at your next event. For everyone listening, just a quick recap of today. Age isn't a deadline. It's a launch pad, right? Your experience is your superpower. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. And the second act is where the magic happens, if you give yourself permission to bloom. That's a wrap today's episode. Remember, age isn't a limitation. It's your license to be bolder, louder, and more than you've ever been before. Now, be sure to subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform, whether that's YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and of course, follow us and like us on all those social channels, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, or whatever the latest one that pops up is. Until then, stay hot, stay fabulous, and own your second act like you're the badass you are. And that's a wrap on today's episode. Remember, menopause may be a wild ride, but together, we've got this.
And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Hot Flash Health.
Stream and subscribe to us on any of your favorite listening platforms like YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.
And of course, share your thoughts with us. We love hearing from our amazing listeners.
And until next time, stay sassy, stay fabulous, and keep those hot flashes in check.
Yeah, girl.
Woo!